Hi guys, this is part 1 of my Ochako boot tutorial where I'll take you through the steps of how I made my own custom boot pattern, which will eventually end up on foam to create a boot shape, but that will be in a separate video. So to make a shape to base the pattern on, I created a makeshift boot out of chicken wire just by cutting it to size and bending it into shape. So I was trying to figure out how to make the pattern for this boot, so I was doing some research and found Adam Savage's Tested channel on YouTube, and I was watching their building the Star Wars Rancor costume to figure out how I was going to make the pattern for this. And they used tiny to scale models and then built the pattern around that and then scaled it up, but I'm not that clever, so I just sort of made a full scale model around my leg using the chicken wire and then base the pattern around that. Now I've got my 3D shape, I need to transfer that onto a 2D surface so I can make my pattern. And I got this method off of Evil Ted Smith on YouTube, where you cover the shape in foil, then cover that in tape, so when you take it off you've still got the 3D shape but on a 2D surface. You'll also often see people using glad wrap instead of foil when creating patterns from their own bodies for things like body armor. But when working with sharp wire, I feel it's better just to use foil. Also, I think duct tape is better suited to this, but you can just use whatever you've got on hand. Once that's finished, we need to cut the foil off the boot so it's perfectly halved. So along here and here. Except don't cut it straight away like this idiot, because then you'll have to reassemble it. So you can mark the match up points which indicate where the separated pieces should line up when you assemble your foam. Now you can cut the foil off the boot. This should leave you with a 3D shell, which we can make 2D by cutting in certain places. Mostly where the curves are the curviest. Most of this was trial and error, but this is where I ended up making cuts. Also, feel free to make this a hell of a lot neater than I did. This is probably the part I had the most difficulty with, where the ankle joint is. Because it's concave rather than convex, I ended up making a separate panel so I could heat form that as a foam piece. Also remember to label your segments so you know which piece to glue to what later. It's a good idea to make a draft boot from your pattern out of cheap foam so you can test the size and make adjustments for the final boot. But be mindful that the foam you use later may be significantly thicker than your cheap foam, so make sure you have enough room between your shoe and your boot to compensate. The toe area of my first test boot didn't end up being long enough, so I made adjustments for that and adjusted for any other areas that I wasn't quite happy with. Apart from adjusting the toe, I ended up taking it in so the boot was smaller and that the kneecap was a little bit rounder. So I ended up with the final draft, you could say, that I was happy with, and used this for the pattern of my final boot.